Excuse me. Are you deaf? I said, watch where you're going. The words, thick with outrage and stale airport air, hit me like a physical blow. My heart was already pounding from a frantic sprint through Terminal C, a sprint triggered by the sudden gut-wrenching realization that my connecting flight had silently changed gates while I was enjoying a decidedly average airport burger. Now, not only was I late, but I'd apparently just become the personal target of a man whose face was the color of an overripe tomato. "Sir, I am so sorry," I gasped, trying to catch my breath, my carry-on bag threatening to slip off my shoulder. "I'm really in a rush. Didn't mean to bump you." The man, a formidable wall of tweed and indignation, didn't move an inch. He just folded his arms, blocking what little path there was in the crowded boarding area. "Oh, you're in a rush, are you? Well, I suppose that gives you permission to barrel through people like a rogue luggage cart, does it? Typical. This entire operation is a shambles." I blinked, genuinely confused. "Operation? I'm a passenger, sir, same as you." I pointed vaguely at the departure board, trying to show I was just another harried traveler. "My gate changed. I'm cutting it close." He scoffed, a wet, guttural sound. "Don't play coy with me. You're supposed to be helping people, not knocking them over. Look at this mess. Gate changed, no proper announcements, and now I'm going to miss my connection thanks to this absolute incompetence." He gestured wildly around the bustling gate area as if expecting me to magically fix it all. That's when it clicked. He thought I worked here. Maybe it was my crisp post-business trip shirt and tie, or the determined look on my face. Whatever it was, this guy had decided I was fair game for his bottled-up travel rage. "Sir, I assure you I don't work for the airline or the airport," I said, trying to keep my voice even, despite the adrenaline still coursing through me. "I'm just trying to get on my flight." He just waved a dismissive hand. "Spittle flying. Rubbish. You're all the same, always making excuses. Now, are you going to stand there looking confused? Or are you going to do something about this absolute catastrophe? My flight is boarding, and I need answers." Just then, a harried flight attendant, a woman who looked like she'd been surviving on caffeine and sheer willpower, came rushing up. Her eyes darted between me, the fuming man, and the dwindling line of passengers funneling onto the plane. "Sir, please, we need to keep this aisle clear," she pleaded, holding up a boarding pass scanner. "Oh, finally," the man bellowed, redirecting his fury with surprising speed. "Another one. Maybe you can tell me why this gentleman here," he jabbed a finger in my direction, "is ramming into passengers and then lying about his employment status. And while you're at it, where's the sense in changing gates at the last minute and causing this kind of chaos?" The flight attendant, bless her soul, simply took a deep, visible breath. "Sir, I understand your frustration, but boarding is almost complete. If you could please proceed." Her words were drowned out by a fresh wave of noise from behind us. A young child, maybe 3 years old, was in the throes of an epic, ear-splitting tantrum, complete with flailing limbs and guttural screams. His non-English-speaking grandparents, clearly mortified, were struggling to contain him, their faces etched with panic. They'd been trying to board for a while, causing a small bottleneck themselves, and the stress had finally boiled over. The flight attendant paled. "Oh, no," she muttered, clearly at her breaking point. She gestured frantically to a ground agent. "We have a situation here. That child cannot board in that state. It's a safety hazard." As if on cue, the toddler launched a small, sticky toy car directly at the angry man's shin. "Oh, good heavens! Are you letting wild animals onto this flight now?" he roared, hopping on one leg. The flight attendant, in her haste to reach the flailing child, accidentally bumped the angry man's other leg. Not a hard bump, but enough to rattle him further. "That's it. I've had enough," he shrieked, his voice echoing through the gate. He stood his ground, pointing an accusatory finger at the visibly wilting flight attendant. "What is your name?" "I want your name, your employee ID, and I want to speak to your supervisor right now. This is absolutely unacceptable." The flight attendant looked like she was about to burst into tears. The ground agent was trying to gently usher the distraught grandparents and their wailing grandson away. The line was completely stalled. My own flight was seconds from closing. This whole situation was a pressure cooker, and I, the fake employee, was inexplicably in the middle of it. I took a deep breath. I'd spent my business trip negotiating high-stakes contracts. This wasn't exactly the same, but the principles of de-escalation felt surprisingly applicable. "Hey, pal," I said, stepping forward, making sure I made eye contact with the angry man. My voice was calm, firm, and perhaps a touch louder than strictly necessary. "Look, I get it. Travel can be a nightmare. I just ran across the airport because my gate changed and I missed the notification, just like you probably did. Someone bumped into me on the way here too, and I've been waiting to board for 10 minutes, watching this chaos unfold." I gestured to the poor flight attendant who was now just staring blankly. "But this poor woman has a job to do. She's not the one who changed your gate, and she certainly didn't make that kid throw his toy car at you. She's just trying to get us all safely where we need to go." The angry man faltered, his mouth opening and closing. He looked from me to the flight attendant, then back to me, the steam slowly dissipating from his face as my words sank in. I wasn't arguing. I wasn't lying about working there. I was just stating facts, connecting with his own frustrations, and then gently but firmly pointing out the absurdity of blaming this specific, overwhelmed human being. "We all just want to get home," I continued, lowering my voice slightly. "Let's help her do her job so we can all get on that plane. What do you say?" He grumbled, shifted his weight, and then, to my surprise, actually deflated a bit. Well, I suppose he still looked annoyed, but the fire had gone out of his eyes. The flight attendant managed a small, grateful smile. "Thank you, sir," she whispered to me. I just nodded. The ground agent, having successfully escorted the family away to rebook, gave me a quick, appreciative glance. The angry man, still muttering, finally lumbered onto the plane, chastened but no longer a raging inferno. I was the last one to board, just as the gate agent announced final call. As I found my seat, a wave of relief washed over me. I wasn't a hero, just a guy who'd had enough of unnecessary drama and found himself in a strange, I don't work here kind of situation. But for a few tense moments, I'd gone from being an assumed employee to an unexpected peacemaker, and that felt pretty damn good. The flight attendant caught my eye as she walked past, offering another small, genuine smile. I gave her a wink, then leaned back in my seat, ready for the quiet journey home. Sometimes the most successful part of a trip isn't the business, but surviving the airport.
This next one had Reddit losing its mind. Quick pause, subscribe now, because the chaos doesn't stop here.
"Oh, for crying out loud," Mr. Johnson muttered, running a hand through his already disheveled hair. Another Monday, another mental battle with aisle 7, the fastener section. For years, it had been a nightmare, a swirling vortex of disorganized nuts, bolts, and washers, mocking his store's otherwise respectable chaos. The staff, good-hearted but perpetually overwhelmed, joked about it being cursed, occasionally whispering about a mythical bolt fairy who would one day swoop in and bring order. He'd learned to dread approaching it, knowing he'd inevitably find a customer fuming, unable to find a simple carriage bolt amidst the metallic detritus. He rounded the corner, bracing himself for the usual eyesore, but what he saw stopped him dead in his tracks. Aisle 7 wasn't a mess. It was pristine, neat rows of bolts, washers perfectly stacked, nuts gleaming in their individual bins. It was a sight he hadn't witnessed since the store's grand opening, decades ago. His initial shock quickly turned to suspicion. Had someone pulled an all-nighter? Or was this some kind of elaborate prank by his usually laid-back crew? He scanned the aisle, half expecting to find a hidden camera. Then he saw him. A teenager, maybe 15 or 16, was hunched over a bin of assorted screws, his brow furrowed in intense concentration. He wasn't browsing. He was meticulously, almost surgically, separating identical screws from a mismatched pile, his fingers moving with practiced grace. Mr. Johnson frowned. A customer? Making that much effort? Or was this kid actually messing with the displays, taking things out of their new, glorious order? His heart, which had briefly swelled with hope, began to sink. He pushed through the aisle, ready to give the kid a stern talking to. "Excuse me, young man," Mr. Johnson began, his voice firmer than he intended. Before Timmy could even register the sound, a shrill voice cut through the air. Finally, an employee, a woman, mid-50s, with a brightly colored scarf and a perpetually aggrieved expression, stomped towards Timmy. She pointed a perfectly manicured finger at a bin. "Where are the quarter-inch galvanized hex head bolts? I've been waiting for ages for someone to help me." Timmy, startled, froze. He looked from the woman to Mr. Johnson, his face a mask of mild confusion and discomfort. He mumbled something inaudible, shrinking slightly under the woman's glare. "Don't you dare give me attitude, young man," the woman shrieked, now directly in Timmy's face. "I'm a paying customer. If you can't even tell me where the galvanized hex heads are, what good are you? Are you deaf? Blind?" Mr. Johnson stepped forward, his own initial irritation forgotten, replaced by a surge of protective indignation. "Ma'am, he's not. He doesn't actually work here." The woman scoffed, turning her wrath on Mr. Johnson. "Oh, please, look at him, organizing the nuts and bolts like he owns the place. If he doesn't work here, then he shouldn't be touching anything. And if he does work here, he's clearly terrible at his job." She pointed at Timmy again. "Now, are you going to get me those bolts, or am I going to have to speak to your manager?" Timmy, looking increasingly overwhelmed, finally managed to stammer, I'd just like to make them neat." Mr. Johnson placed a calming hand on Timmy's shoulder. "Ma'am, I am the manager, and as I just told you, this young man isn't an employee. He was just tidying up." He took a deep breath, trying to keep his composure. The bolt fairy legend suddenly made a lot more sense. "As for your bolts, if you'll give me a moment, I'll be happy to help you find them." He pointed to a section the woman had clearly overlooked in her rush to complain. "They're right here, actually." The woman glared, mumbled something about unprofessionalism, grabbed her bolts and huffed away. Mr. Johnson turned back to Timmy, a different kind of awe now spreading across his face. "Tiddying up, huh?" he said softly, a genuine smile finally breaking through his earlier stress. "You really are something, kid. This place, it's never looked this good." "What's your name?" "Timmy," the boy replied, still a little shaken but meeting Mr. Johnson's gaze. "Well, Timmy," Mr. Johnson said, looking around the miraculously organized aisle, "you, my friend, are the living embodiment of the Bolt Fairy. Come on, let's go to my office. I think we need to have a little chat. And maybe, just maybe, you can tell me what a kid like you is doing bringing order to my chaotic world." In his office, Timmy explained, a little shyly, how he just found joy in making things organized. He loved the patterns, the way everything fit together. Mr. Johnson listened, fascinated, sensing something special. He learned Timmy was autistic, and that this meticulous attention to detail and love for order wasn't just a hobby, but a deeply ingrained part of who he was. "Look, Timmy," Mr. Johnson said, leaning forward, "you can't just come in here and work for free. That's not how it works. But if you're serious about this, and if your mom is okay with it, I think I might have a job for you. Part-time, Bolt Fairy officially on the payroll." Timmy's face lit up, a radiant smile transforming his features. His mom, Mrs. Smith, initially apologetic when she arrived later, was nearly in tears of gratitude. She'd been worried about Timmy's future, about finding a place where his unique gifts would be understood, let alone appreciated. Mr. Johnson wasn't just giving him a job, he was giving him purpose. For the next 2 years, Timmy was the heart of the fastener section. His presence didn't just organize the bolts, it brought a quiet calm to the entire store. Customers loved him, often leaving little notes of thanks when they found exactly what they needed, perfectly presented. His gentle demeanor and unwavering focus became legendary. He became more than an employee. He was part of the store's fabric, a quirky, beloved fixture. Then life happened. Timmy's family had an unexpected opportunity to move across the country. Saying goodbye was genuinely tough. The staff threw him a going-away party, complete with a cake shaped like a giant hex bolt. Mr. Johnson, never one to just let good talent disappear, made some calls. He personally reached out to a fellow hardware store owner in Timmy's new town, giving the most glowing recommendation he'd ever written. Timmy started his new job a few weeks later, bringing his unique brand of order to a whole new fastener section. And back in his old store, aisle 7, though occasionally slipping back into its old habits, never quite descended into its previous level of chaos. Every now and then, When an employee found a particularly organized bin, someone would whisper, "The Bolt Fairy must have visited again." Mr. Johnson would just smile, remembering the shy kid who taught him that sometimes the most unexpected help comes from those who don't work for you, and that a little bit of kindness can turn a chaotic mess into a heartwarming legacy. The "I don't work here" moment had turned into an "I do work here, and I'm awesome at it" story, and Mr. Johnson wouldn't have had it any other way.
His fingers dug into my arm, a surprisingly strong grip for someone his age, and a cold wave of panic washed over me. "You are going to help me," he hissed, his face inches from mine. "Or we're going to have a problem." My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't just some annoying old dude anymore. This was genuinely terrifying. So, hey guys, it's Cameron here. And before I get into how I ended up in that nightmare scenario, let me set the stage. I was just trying to get to the train station the other day, minding my own business. I just finished my shift at my retail job. Nothing fancy, just a small boutique, so I was still in my standard issue black trousers and a fairly generic dark polo shirt with our company logo stitched subtly on the chest. On my way, I figured I'd pop into a convenience store to grab a bottle of water. It was a pretty typical Tuesday afternoon, you know? I was by the refrigerated drinks, humming a little tune to myself, when this guy appeared. He wasn't particularly old, maybe late 50s, early 60s, but he had that entitled swagger about him even before he opened his mouth. He was actually wearing a uniform himself, a bright orange polo shirt with the logo of Home Depot, so I just figured he was on his lunch break or something. He came right up to me, practically invading my personal space. "Excuse me," he barked. "Not even a polite hello? What time does the Home Depot on Main Street open?" I blinked, genuinely confused. Sir, I'm not sure. I don't actually work here." I gestured vaguely at my own modest uniform, hoping he'd take the hint. "This is for a different store." He scoffed, a loud, dismissive sound. "Don't give me that. You're clearly wearing a uniform. What kind of employee are you that you don't even know your own store's hours, let alone the other locations?" His voice was getting louder, drawing a few glances from other customers. My cheeks started to burn. "No, seriously. I don't work for Home Depot. I work for—" I tried to explain, but he cut me off. "Listen, I need to get there now. I've got a project to finish, and I need a specific part. Do you open at 8 or 9? Just tell me." He was leaning in closer now, his breath smelling faintly of coffee and stale cigarettes. "Sir, I told you, I don't know. I actually work at my store name, which is a completely different kind of place. I can't help you with Home Depot's hours." I tried to sidestep him, eager to just pay for my water and get out of there. My train wasn't going to wait. That's when he started getting physical. He stepped directly into my path, completely blocking the aisle. "You know what? I'll give you a lift. You can take me there, and you can just tell them to open up for me." His eyes were wide, almost manic, and a shiver ran down my spine. The offer felt less like a favor and more like a demand, a way to trap me. "No, thank you," I said, my voice probably a little too high. "I really can't. I have a train to catch. Please, just let me go." I tried to push past him, but he reached out and grabbed my arm, his grip surprisingly firm. That's when my blood ran cold. "Hey, let go of me." I yanked, but he held on tight. He actually laughed, a short, humorless sound. "Don't be difficult, sweetie. You're just trying to get out of doing your job. Now, you're going to help me, right?" He tugged my arm, pulling me closer. His grip was digging in, and I could feel my skin protesting. This wasn't just an entitled customer anymore. This was starting to feel like an assault. My mind raced. Is anyone seeing this? Can anyone help? The few other shoppers seemed to be pointedly looking away, probably just wanting to avoid conflict. Panic flared. I had to get away. I twisted my arm with all my might, managing to pull free for a second, but he lunged, his fingers closing around my wrist this time, even tighter. "Don't you dare walk away from me." I honestly thought I was going to be dragged out of that store. Adrenaline surged through me.
With a desperate surge, I pushed him back with my free hand, a full-force shove to his chest, enough to briefly throw him off balance. That was my chance. I tore my arm away, spun on my heel, and just ran. I didn't stop to look back. I bolted out of the store, ignoring the "Hey!" he yelled after me, and sprinted down the street towards the train station. My lungs burned, my legs ached, but I just kept going. I saw my train pulling in as I reached the platform, and I practically threw myself into the nearest carriage just as the doors hissed shut. Safe, finally, but I was shaking, absolutely trembling, my heart still thundering like a drum solo. My wrist stung where he'd grabbed me, and I could see the faint red marks already. The sheer entitlement, the aggression, the way he just wouldn't let go, it was terrifying. I just wanted to help, to be polite, but it turned into something so much darker. So, yeah, that's my story. It's wild what some people will do, how far they'll go, all because they think they're entitled to your time, your help, your person, just because you're wearing a uniform. Be safe out there, guys. And remember, sometimes just saying, "I don't work here," isn't enough. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you all next time.
Don't miss this next video, it's a good follow-up.